Okay, hello everyone, welcome to the new week. In this week, we plan to finish the recap on database fundamentals, so we can move to the new section in the next week. According to the schedule, we also release the paper 2 in a schedule spreadsheet, so you can download the paper 2, read it, and also write the summary report, which will be due by the next Friday. And besides the report for paper 2, we also have the stage 2 of the project to be due by next Friday as well. So please remember to discuss with your teammates about the project as well when you have time. I also receive emails from students asking about projects or about implementations. I think some of the students, they have never done such kinds of research projects or implementations before. So therefore, I have some suggestions. Normally, when you choose a paper to implement, the first step you need to do is to download the paper from the website we showed before, right? And then you can check the paper carefully, reading from the beginning to the end, and double check if you want to implement it or not in your project. Once you decide to implement some methods from a paper, then the next step will be to get some data used in the paper. In most cases, for the paper published, they will use some open source data, so you can download data from the website. Sometimes you can also ask the authors. You can send an email to the authors to ask for the data as well, to see if they will share with you or not. And in some cases, the data they use in the paper can be private, and they don't want to release it to others. If so, then you need to decide either to get a new data set by yourself or you can change another paper instead. I think it will be easier for you to implement some paper use some open source data sets, which will be much convenient for you. And once you have the data, you need to check the method section of the paper carefully, and you need to decide how to implement the method as proposed in the paper. The first thing you need to decide is to use the language, right? Normally, I'd like to suggest you use Python. Of course, you can also use other languages if you prefer. And then you also need to decide the toolkits you plan to use. Now, if you work on machine learning, then you need to use sklearn, right? If you also write in Python. And if you are working on deep learning, you probably need to use PyTorch or TensorFlow, right? Or Keras as your toolkit. So based on the toolkit, you can call some existing function for some existing models, right? Normally in the research papers, they will propose some new methods which are never implemented in the toolkits. Therefore, you need to implement or extend the existing methods in the toolkits and then write your own method instead according to the paper descriptions. So once a method is implemented, you need to test it to see if it can work or not. Then you need to run the method on the dataset to get some scores, like accuracy, F1, recall, precision, AUC, something like that, right? And you can also compare with the results reported in the paper by authors to see if you can replicate it, the results or not. So this is the normal procedure for implement existing methods proposed by the existing papers. I think this process can be very interesting because you need to implement the method by yourself, and you also need to run the methods on the dataset to get some real-world scores to check if it can work or not. And during the process, you may also meet lots of problems and challenges as well because machine learning is still very different from other areas. Sometimes your model cannot work, and it's very hard to figure out which part may make a mistake or maybe something wrong. The debugging process with machine learning models can be very tricky. If you are working on deep learning, it will be more tricky, right? Because you probably don't know which part you make a mistake. So in most cases, a very small mistake can make the model can fail to work. It's very common actually. Okay, so this is the general process for the implementation projects if you plan to implement existing paper. Get the data sets, implement methods, and also run a method on the datasets to get some scores. And this will be the process for the implementation projects. As to the research projects, you need to figure out the problem by yourself or to propose your own new method, and then do the experiment part just similar to the implementation projects. The main difference will be you need to implement your own method, not from paper, right? You need to propose and implement your own methods instead, so this will be more challenging and more tricky. Okay, so this is about the projects. So we have the project stage 2 to be due by next Friday, as well as the paper summary 2 to be due by next Friday as well. Don't forget it. I think it's the time for you to start to both reading the paper 2 as well as discussing with your teammates on the project. And beside the projects, I also receive emails from students saying that the audio of some videos probably are not clear. I think the main reason is because I use some older videos I recorded in the last semester for the undergrad students, and the audios in the older videos, they are not very clear. And I think when we finish this recap section, we will move to a new section and we will record some new videos instead with new microphone. I think everything will be better in the next week as we go into the new sections. I hope you will still be able to follow the existing lectures. I mean, even though the videos sometimes can be not very clear. And if you are confused by some of the section, you can let me know via emails, and I will clarify them to you by emails instead. Okay, so that's it for the schedule as well as some question emails I received about the course. And let's move to the slides, and we need to finish this recap section this week so we can move to a new section in the next week.